Ma'am, good morning. I hope you're having a great day. And hi, everyone. So this is today we are here for HealthFest 2023, which is conducted by Durai Foundations, and it is basically like a international outreach program, which is there for uh, creating and spreading awareness as well as gaining knowledge. So today we are here to talk about the psychological aspects of while if somebody has shoulder and back pain. So we have today's Sanjana Prasad. She is a person-centered therapist with a interest and inclination towards psychodynamic therapy. And some of the common themes that she helps people with are emotional regulation, relational concerns, trauma and abuse, and many more. She often uses popular culture and media to understand her clients better and to help them narrate their stories better. She developed this practice through her own master thesis, which was centered upon using pop culture elements in therapeutic setup. So, going about Durai Foundations, it's a community-based organization working on rehabilitation and empowerment. So basically, Durai stands for Development, Opportunity, Resources, and Access and Insight. So stepping on to the actual, purpose of the day, we are here to discuss about the psychological aspects of, if somebody has shoulder and back pain, what are the psychological aspects? So I conducted an interview before with a person I know. You know, she also is, she has really bad back pain and knee pain, and she snaps too quickly. And at times we don't know why, because people who go through pain, it is very hard for us to understand what they're going through. So, like, what is something which we as people should know about them? Like, what is something that we are supposed to, be aware of, ma'am?
Hmm. So one thing I've noticed is that it's so easy for us to kind of discard the feelings of people when they're going through some kind of pain in a chronic way, especially because they're complaining about it every day. So we almost get immune to the complaint in some sense. So, and not to say that our life now centers around their pain or anything of that sort, but what ends up happening is that they are in pain, we're feeling helpless, we don't know what to do, and so we believe that if the pain goes away, this problem will go away. So we start denying the existence of such a pain, right? Which is, I understand, it also comes from our desperation to not want to feel so helpless, right? So I would say, for different people, it could be different things. Like for as an example, I just told you that sometimes it comes from a place of helplessness that we feel, where with chronic pain, there's nothing that we can really do other than take them to the hospital, probably get them the medicines and the help they need. And if they don't get any better, then they don't get any better. You know, there's nothing that we can actually do about it. So sometimes we do tend to discard it as, they're just making a big deal about it, or, they should just stop complaining so much, and they're just exaggerating their pain. It's a very, very common experience that a lot of people go through, mainly because of the fact that we also don't experience the intensity of that pain. Something I would say is being a caregiver is also difficult. It's not an easy task at all. So just because somebody else is in pain doesn't mean that they are only the ones who are going through something. And this applies to all kinds of physical or mental ailments where we are taking care of somebody. So acknowledging that we're also going through something because of this distress in the family, because looking at this pain as an individual issue is only going to make us feel more angry towards them, or make us want to tell them to stop talking about it and all these kinds of things. But looking at this as a more systemic problem, looking at it as a family's problem, right? your shoulder pain impacts my life like this. Your shoulder pain impacts the kid's life like this as a consequence. Your shoulder pain impacts your life like this, right? So looking at it as a family's problem, especially in the way in which our families are set up in India, right? It can be really helpful to stay empathetic towards them and also know what kind of boundaries to have. Like, yes, I am empathetic, and yes, I also have boundaries, right? And it can be really difficult to see somebody in pain, somebody, our loved ones go through pain. So invalidating them or telling them the pain doesn't exist is not going to make the pain go away. If anything, it adds more stress and it adds more tension to their lives to want to make the pain go away, because nobody really wants to be in pain to begin with. So I would say that knowing your boundaries, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a psychologist, I'm their caregiver. In this moment, I'm going to be somebody who is not going to take it personally if the pain hasn't gone away, right? So it can really help for these people to also access therapy. When you start looking at it as a family issue and not as they are facing a problem, you also start recognizing the mental health impacts it has on you. And so when you start accessing help, you're able to start slowly drawing the boundaries between this is so far I can go, and this is where I start taking a step back, and this is where I know that I don't need to be taking on all of this stress and guilt. And because when we take that on, we start pushing it onto the other person and say that your pain needs to go away, otherwise, our lives are going to be miserable. So these are some of the things I would say keep in mind. Recognize that you are also going through something, so it's okay for you to take that help as well, and that will really help you establish boundaries while also staying understanding and empathetic of the people at home going through this pain.
Thank you so much, ma'am. You said it so beautifully, and you summarized it so beautifully. So, like, how do you think, like, in what ways that a person going through the pain can tackle it and cope up with it? Now we talked about the other people who are going, the people who are not going under the pain, but then now I'm asking, like, how is that one person who is going through the pain, what is that they can do, like, how can they tackle it, how can they cope up with it, how does like what are the things that they need to, yeah, exactly, like how.
Understood. So here's my belief about this, right? So different people have different kinds of schools of thought about this entire thing. But the school of thought that I come from, we very strongly believe that chronic pain very often has its own psychological underpinnings. When there is like, yeah, you can like sleep on the wrong side and probably freeze your shoulder, but more than all of that, when something is recurring or something is chronic, there is something deeper there that you need to look into. There is always a psychological impact or a psychological stressor there that we have not noticed. This does not apply only for shoulder pains or back pains. This applies for a lot of chronic illnesses that we have. Like, you might have heard of irritable bowel syndrome, IBS, right? You might have heard of long-term allergies. All of these things, if you take a more holistic approach to it, it's not just about popping a muscle relaxant and feeling better. While that is also very helpful, it's important to manage the symptom of the pain, but there is a deeper cause behind it. Very often, that you talk to anybody with some kind of chronic illness, they probably also suspect it, and some people may have taken help with by consulting a psychologist or going to a holistic healer and trying to figure that out, or they may have considered doing something like that even if they haven't done it. So I would suggest that living with that pain, living with some kind of chronic illness is extremely difficult. So even if they were not going to go into the deeper understanding of why, where, how it came from and healing that, it can just help to have a third party just listen to them, right? Because it is probably also not your child's job or not your parents' job constantly to be, you know, um, caretaking. They also have their lives, right? So here's where you can take the help of somebody who can help you understand yourself better, help you soothe yourself better in those moments. It is not at all to invalidate the pain that they are going through, but just to say that, the people in their lives that are close to them, like their friends and family, for their own limitations and for their own reasons, may not be able to completely be there for them at every given moment. Same thing, even if they were to take help, but while they take help, they'll also learn the tools of how to help themselves, right? So they'll be able to understand, okay, right now I'm going through this pain and it's excruciating, and I feel like snapping at this person, but I'm going to reel myself back and say that this is happening because of the pain and it's not because I'm angry at this person, right? The anger is kind of secondary in that moment. So they're able to pause between their emotion and their reaction. So there is some kind of distance that they're able to create when they're able to access help, where they're able to separate these two different things. Because very often we react without realizing that, there is something else that is probably happening, right? So while it is serious that you're going through this pain, and it is very important to deal with it as serious as it is, um, the reactions can still be something that we ask ourselves two or three questions before we actually engage in it. Like, yes, I acknowledge how painful this is, but is this reaction um, about this pain itself, or is it something I might be projecting onto another person, right? So it can help to just have that kind of knowledge and take help in order to understand that. And as a consequence, if you're also working with somebody who does deeper work and trauma work and everything, they may even help you link it to what exactly could be causing the pain itself. Like I said, there could be psychological implications to this pain. So just trying to understand that and you know work through that. For example, one of the questions I really like asking a lot of people who come with chronic back pain is, who is the pain in the back in your life, right? So very often people who have shoulder pains and back pains, this may be leading into another, I may be digressing a little bit, but yeah, just to give you some sense of what happens is that, especially with chronic pain, there's always some kind of psychological issue also linked to it. So with shoulder pains and back pains, these people take on a lot of burdens, they take on a lot of responsibility, they take on a lot of like, um, I need to be doing this, I need to be supporting in this way. So there's a lot of that they take on, so it's like a literal burden on their shoulders. It's almost like they're carrying something heavy, which quite literally manifests in their shoulders as pain, right? So when you work with somebody who does that kind of deeper work, you'll be able to go deeper into what the psychological impact of it is, and work through that and find creative solutions for it, whatever you need to be doing in terms of that. And that, as a consequence, will help them release the pain itself, right? And it doesn't have to be something that's so chronic after all. And the next time they probably have the pain, it may still act up. It may still, act up in certain areas of their lives where they have excess stress, but it may not be something they're living with every single day.
Makes sense. Like, literally, it's all the proverb thing. So, ma'am, from you've been in this field for such a long time. So, like, what is like through your experience? Can you like give us more examples, like how, of different examples, like for awareness purpose, some real life examples so that there is more understanding for us.
Okay, all
Because
right. Yeah. So, just like this example that I gave you right now, I can talk about this in terms of different kinds of illnesses itself, right? So, I was talking about IBS a little before this. A lot of people who have bowel related issues, right? Um, it's very often linked to things that they're not able to let go of. Like, for example, when we talk about digestion issues, be it in terms of constipation related stuff, or they're having like irritable bowel or something, I ask them questions like, um, what is it that you've not been able to let go of? What is it that you've not been able to digest? Right? So, quite literally, it shows in the body as not being able to digest. So, there's so many links like this that you'll be able to see in terms of the psychology of things and how it manifests in your body, right? So, the reason this happens very often is because we um, at this point in this time and age, we have so much access to information, and our brains are so developed and we're able to intellectually make sense of things. But when we're babies, we don't have that kind of vocabulary. We don't even have a fully developed hippocampus at that point. The hippocampus is the part of the brain that stores memory as like a story, like when we talk about declarative memory, right? So so that doesn't mean that we don't have memory in that sense. Instead, we store these things as sensations in our bodies. So when you're a kid and you go through something, you may not necessarily remember it as on, May 1st, I went through this incident in my life. You may not recall it like that. But how it'll show up in your body is, something may have happened, you clearly don't remember it, but today you're going through a certain situation where you're getting so quickly triggered, a little bit more sensitive to that trigger than a lot of other people in your life would be, right? Like your mom said something, and it's probably something moms generally say. It's quite regular, right? And a lot of your friends are probably laughing about something like this, but it triggers you a little bit more than somebody else. So that's a key thing to note, that there might be something that you have not let go of. There's something that you're still holding on to, which your body remembers. So it's the body that gets triggered, right? Like you feel like your heart is racing and you literally feel like you just want to like punch a wall or something of that sort in that moment. It feels a little bit exaggerated and you can't really tell why. But then it exists, it's there. There is no question of, it's serious, but you don't really have any memory to corroborate as to why this is so serious. So that's the reason I say that, there are a lot of psychological underpinnings to a lot of the chronic issues that we experience. And often with chronic things, it becomes chronic because there is something that you've not dealt with, and then you're not finding the right kind of help to deal with it. You've probably gone to different kinds of doctors, different kinds of professionals who've not been able to see a holistic picture around the same thing, right? Because they might have given you painkiller. So when you give the painkiller, you're essentially, like it's symptom management that we're doing. We're not seeing the big picture around it, right? So, like the cause is still unknown. Why is this happening so often is still unknown, right? But now a lot of doctors have become a lot more aware of this and are having psychologists on their team, or they're referring them out to psychologists saying there is something deeper here, there might be some stressor that you haven't dealt with, so it's important that you go and deal with it, right? So they help them with the symptom management, and then they all, and also probably if there's a surgery required, help them with that as well. And post that, they're also asking them to take help in terms of dealing with it at a deeper level. So yeah, so this is essentially how, um, our pains and aches and everything can be linked back to our psychology of things as well. um, so I think the question was real life examples. So I've given you the example of IBS, I've given you the example of shoulder pains. If there's more that you would like, I'll think and I'll get back to it.
Yes. Uh, so, like, I think I almost covered all questions. Like, I had a list, and then like one question, I think you covered a lot of answers for all the other questions also. So, like, is there anything else, like in general, that I'm pretty sure with my knowledge in this subject, I was able to form only this much question, but I'm pretty sure there's still a ocean of other things that others should know, but I couldn't
Yeah.
ask. But it is so, since like you're in the field and you know a lot of things, is there anything that you would like us to know, like regarding the whole subject?
Yeah. One thing I would just like to do is probably uh, spread a little bit awareness about this, that, especially for caregivers, right? It's also I understand the pain of being a caregiver as well. So I would definitely say that it's not easy being a caregiver, but always remember that um, it is serious, but it's not personal, right? And that really, really helps in distinguishing between um, not invalidating the person going through this struggle, and at the same time also taking a step back and saying this is not about, right? And even if it is in some way about them, right? That's something for them to figure out and bring back to them. It's not their job to figure it out for the person going through this pain, right? So that's something I would say, as um, in general, as advice, has worked personally for me as well. Not just with people who struggle with chronic physical issues, but also in terms of when we see that certain people behave a certain way with us, right? It can help to keep validating ourselves, saying it is serious. They're going through something serious, and I don't mean to say that they're exaggerating or anything of that sort, but it's not personal,
Yeah.
right? So that's something I would say can be something that helps a lot of caregivers in this equation. And the same thing for people going through it as well. It is serious. Try not to make it personal, right? It is serious. You need to get the help. You need to understand what's going on. But it is also probably not about today you got angry with your grandkid because they did something. They, like, threw a bunch of blocks on the floor, and it's not about that, right?
Yeah.
It's just a mirror for you to know that there's something deeper that you have not resolved. So that's something I would really like to, say as in a way that I would like to spread awareness, because a lot of times the debate is centered around, like, but why do I need to be putting up with this? Or, but for both ways, right? Like, why do I need to be putting up with such an unempathetic kid? Or why do I need to be putting up with a whiny parent, right? But, you know, it would really help to start looking at it from a larger perspective of you all are struggling. You all have your own ways in which you're struggling with this issue. So when you start externalizing it, when you start saying that the shoulder pain is the villain and everyone surrounding it is struggling with the shoulder pain in their own way, it can start helping. It can start helping us to see that there is a person behind the shoulder pain.
Yeah.
And the person with the shoulder pain can also see that there are people here feeling helpless and feeling desperate to help you and not knowing how to do so.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's something that I would really like to share.
Thank you so much, ma'am. I guess it was such a short and cute interview. It was very precise, compact, yet so impactful. You covered so much topics so beautifully. So I think thank you so much again for your time, and I know for taking out your time, and it's such it is literally early. It is Saturday, and thank you so much for your time and sharing so much so beautifully, and yet so compact, and it was understandable. Like, I'm pretty sure whoever we are gonna be uploading this on YouTube, so I'm pretty sure whoever watches this, pretty sure they'll be able to get just in a very short and nice way. So thank you so much, ma'am. I think just uh ma'am.
Yeah. I'm so
Yeah,
sorry. It was
well, it's
loud.
fine. Yeah, it's fine, ma'am. So thank you.